Hello everybody and welcome to week 40's week in review video here on my channel of teaching myself how to draw. So looking at these poses to start this week, and I think maybe the few previous weeks, I honestly forget what I talk about each week, but it's become apparent to me that how much I rely on like the contour when I'm drawing figures, drawing anything in particular really, or sorry, nothing in particular, drawing anything. I really rely on like the outer contour and not enough on like the form of things. Sometimes it's a little different with figures because I do them all the time. I'm sort of breaking them up into mannequins, and I think of the arms as like cylinders, for example, and same with the legs. But not so much for like the other parts of the body. Like, if we take a look at some of these, I might find a good example. It's hard to explain, but basically I feel like I'm not really concerning myself too much with the actual volume of things. Like I say, figures are more or less okay. It's not like a huge issue with these. But like here you can see I should be drawing another line on the other side. I don't often do that with the central part. This might just be a 90-second pose, so I'm rushing through it, but I usually don't think enough about kind of the volume of this, and sometimes I think that's what's leaving them to be so tall and like long. Some of my figures are really long. Like they're too tall as opposed to wide. I think that might be part of the reason why I do that. Anyway, I want to speed through these because it's more what I want to talk about is will be visible in the other stuff that I want to showcase, not necessarily my figure practice. I want to just look at these because honestly these are all really good. I'm really happy with my figures pretty much every day consistently, so yeah, I think these cross contour lines at the end, I'm really getting better at understanding how these lines should be. I know it's something really simple, but sometimes like from here, I don't know how the line should shift as it gets closer to the horizon or whatever it is, the eye level. Sometimes it's really hard for me to think about how the line on like one cylinder would shift as it's changing, heading towards, like how the perspective, especially for something like this with like a low angle, if this leg is straight, how the cross contour lines will like even out. It's so hard for me to visualize that sort of thing, but I'm getting better at it, is all I wanted to mention. So that's about it for my figures. Like I said, the main thing is I feel like I'm relying too much on contour. And so actually, before I show you this, I'll show you the practice I did. This was yesterday because it's fresh on my mind here. This is the sort of thing that basically what I was doing is I started with this shape, like you can see this blue cube here. And I was just trying to alter simple shapes in a way, like rounding edges and trying to create stuff with these simple shapes. Rounding edges and like adding little bumps here and there and like trying to sort of like make things more interesting, make these simple shapes more interesting. And the one that really kind of gave me an epiphany was doing this rug. I had like a flat rug and I was like, how do I make a rug more interesting? Well, I added this little bit of a fold here. And like that sort of simple thing becomes really easy when you think about, when you start with such a simple shape like a cube, all you really need to do is like adjust the cube a little bit. Like you can raise it here and then raise it here or whatever. None of these are perfect. I was more practicing like the concept of this. So nothing is really properly in perspective or whatever, but like I said, like just starting with a cube and then just like for some reason it like clicked in my head yesterday that it's kind of a nice way to how would you say, like starting with something simple. I didn't realize that it would be as powerful as it is, you know, in terms of manipulating things. I don't know if I'm explaining this too well. But even this sort of thing, like this lava lamp, I was just thinking about sort of the mass of this blob stuff that's floating around in here, and then just like altering it a little bit. And it made, like, I don't know, this is pretty cool looking, I think. Just starting with very simple shapes, and then slowly adding more and more detail to them. Like this cone here, adding like a little bit of, how would you say? Just a little bit of extra space between like the glass here. Just this little extra lip. Even that sort of thing is really helpful too. Like adding extra faces, like this plug here, thinking about the different faces of the shape, right? It gets a cube, and then you can see this side too. Right? I don't know. Starting from simple shapes, for some reason I never thought about that. And like this is going back to what I was mentioning earlier, how I always rely on like the contour lines of things. Like I don't really think about the shapes that make them up. And this plant was really fun too, because I was thinking about if the shape of these leaves was maybe something like this, and maybe like from the side it would kind of come up like this a little, how that would look at different angles. It became really easy, like really clear to me what each of these leaves should look like. They don't look perfect or anything, but whereas the way I used to draw, which is just focusing on like the contour lines, I wouldn't have been able to instantly come up with these leaves the way I did before. So it's I'm trying to practice more thinking in shapes instead of lines, I think. So yeah, let's get into my actual fan art that I did this week. This is for Hibike Euphonium, which I think is getting a season 3, or is it already out? I don't even know. I'm way behind. But this was day 1. We're just laying out the scene. What I wanted to do was fit these characters into, so you could see like my perspective stuff in here. I wanted to fit the characters kind of into a scene. Kind of incorporate the background a little more, because I don't really do that. So you could see like this simple grid that I was working with here, and a little more detailing on the characters. Usually what I do is I'll draw the figures in, and then kind of when they're more or less done, then I'll start thinking about the background, and I won't really draw them together. So I wanted to do one that the background was fully incorporated from the start, which is kind of the goal with this one. And so yeah, moving on. Base colors, and I think this is line art too, hey? But you could see this stuff up here isn't complete. The underside of this gazebo thingy, so... And it's still not done, eh? I guess I took all the way until the last day to do it. That was the thing that kind of made me realize that... Because I started doing this, right? This is all I really ended up doing. This is the final version. I'll zoom out and show you the rest afterwards, but this is kind of the thing that made me realize, like, I don't think in terms of shapes enough. Because I was trying to think about how to make the underside of this gazebo more interesting, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And these lines are all like with the same thickness and same, you know, they're all visible. It looks kind of weird, because I don't really know how to do this sort of thing. So, and same with this bench, you know, same thing. It's a little uninspired, we'll say. But altogether, I think it's pretty fun. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I like the trees in the background here too, and like a little bit of glow that I have on this dress. Like all in all, I'm pretty happy with this one. But again, like the shapes, like I have this trumpet case thing down here too. It's just a cube with some like fancy corners. There's not really anything to it. So that's kind of why I wanted to do that practice. This stuff that I did. It kind of, I want to start thinking more in terms of shapes. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one. I think the figures turned out really good. It was really fun doing the instruments. Just all these different shiny and like, like all this different stuff. I was just playing around, like thinking about where the edges would be, like the kind of the curve of the tubes, and like how that would interact with the light. I don't know if it's perfect or anything, but it looks cool. I like it. So I'm pretty happy with this altogether. I don't know if I really have anything else to say, do I? Not really. This one was really fun, start to finish. I kept saying it as I was working on it. I was like, this one's really fun. So yeah, I want to start thinking more in terms of shapes though. That's the big one. And I don't really know what that means. That's another thing. I don't really know what that means. You know, but I feel like I'm relying too much on contour. I want to think more like a sculptor instead of like a chiseling, you know, outer edge only thinking about blob. I want to be more of a 3D volume of the shape blob, whatever that means. So yeah, that's my my week in review. So I don't think there's anything else to say. So I'll be back. I think this section looks really good. This neck here. I'll be back next week with another recap. So until then, thanks for watching. Hey, yeah, cut.